Hello, Internet.
Hello!
How is everyone today?
Cold, probably.
Cold? Well,
Statistically speaking,
it
probably
depends.
cold.
I saw something that said that 75% of the US population would be below freezing today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
I
think that was
I
75% of like the land mass, but like
am.
75% of people.
Right. Yeah. No, it's cold here. I can give you let's get an up to the date weather check. It is currently -8 degrees Fahrenheit.
Go. We're a balmy like 37 here today.
So nice to be above freezing.
I thought about on the Star Wars app there's that thing where like you can check the weather and it'll tell you what planet it's like, and I wondered what
Yeah.
that was going to say for you. Um
Oh yeah, yeah. I can. I mean, I don't know what else it would say besides Hoth, but I
well,
can check. Star Wars.
this has nothing to do with anything either, but one of the things that really bug me in Star Wars books, especially ones that are set before the Empire Strikes Back, is when
Yeah.
people use Hoth as like a metaphor for being cold. I'm like, you
Yeah.
don't. How do you know what that planet is? Like, the rebels only went there because nobody knew about it.
It's probably backwards, but there you go. It
No, it's
feels
not.
like Hoth.
Feels like Hoth. Well, who would have guessed?
Who
Who
would
would
have
have guessed?
guessed?
I also saw my own reflection there in your phone. That was
Isn't that exciting?
there you go.
So many Django's.
There you go. It's Djangoception.
Yeah,
Um, but we are here today not to talk about how cold it is in the Midwest right now, or about many of my faces appearing all at the same time, but about Star Wars Resistance. So it
yes.
has been a minute since we've done a streamcast
Yes, it
on
has.
Resistance anyway. I know that you do. I was gonna say you're weekly, but I guess it was off the air for a while.
Right,
Your
yeah.
every episode reviews. Um,
Episodic breakdowns.
there you go.
Is what
And you did a much watched reaction video to the trailer
I
too.
did not expect that to take off. Well, and it's funny with that. I was already in the middle of recording something else, and I got the push notification that it had dropped. And I almost didn't do a reaction video because I'm like, what? Well, what's it even gonna? It's gonna be like more spaceships, okay? And I was like, whatever. I'm gonna like record myself because if it's bad, like who cares? And then or boring, I should say. And then I recorded myself, and I went into it with this attitude. And mind you, every one of my reviews, I've been saying like the Force Awakens is coming. Hosnian Prime's gonna blow up. Kaz is gonna be sad. Like I knew it was coming, but somehow I just like. And I'm watching the trailer, and then Hux's voice comes on, and I just have a mental breakdown on video.
See, now every new Star Wars things I'm gonna start. My main question to start with is gonna be, what is this? More
More
spaceships.
spaceship.
But we haven't done a streamcast talking about Resistance since like 2 or 3 episodes in.
Oh man, yeah,
Like it has been a while.
yeah. And
Um,
we were still like pleasantly optimistic, but like not in love yet. I feel like, and
right.
now I'm. This show is so much. This show is where I thought it was going to be at next season,
Right.
basically.
Well, and I remember our discussion was basically like, who is the mole, and like
Right.
I don't know that that's even a thing
No,
anymore.
I think that's funny because we all thought that that's where it was going. Like there was going to
Right.
be an insider that he found, and then as it turns out, that's just not. That was not the MacGuffin we were supposed to be looking for.
Yeah.
Because even the spy that's there, we know is there, and that would be Sonara.
Right. But before we talk specifics, what has been just your general impression so far?
Overall, I really liked it. So I was anticipating, thinking it was pretty okay. I figured it was going to start more juvenile, like a lot of people did, and I'm not that into I'm not that into pilot stuff, which was my whole like, what is it? More spaceships reaction was coming from
All these
because that's
spaceships. What is this?
what is this spaceships stuff in my space wars. Um, and I really liked the kind of I really liked the spy aspect, and I really liked with the first order stuff. I guess it makes sense because the show's called Resistance. I feel like a lot of us have been surprised, and we probably shouldn't have been because the title.
Right.
And that's I don't know. I just think it's picked up. I think the pacing of the shows really impressed me. The episodes always have a ton in them. But then even little things, like I remember, I said this in my review, actually, of the most recent episode, that when we found Sonara in the, can't remember the name of the episode, but it was the one with the swole Kowakian monkey lizard. Right. A lot of us figured, she was going to become this pirate spy, and people, the very next episode, people kind of saw her redemption arc coming. And it was almost like this, okay, yep, here's where she's going to be the bad guy, and then she's going to not be the bad guy. But then it really slowed down. She's just been there in episodes, right? And she popped up in the Resistance shorts, and they've really been investing in her arc. And that's the type of thing that's really impressed me, is that they've really used absolutely every episode to build on something. And even the episodes that are quote-unquote filler, they're filler, but they were filler that included stuff that built up on shows later on. It wasn't just like even with Clone Wars, I adore Clone Wars, but you would have your episodes, and then you would have, here's a random side adventure that doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
Where here they're really efficient with their time. They're making every moment on screen count for something.
Well, I think part of that is that Lucasfilm Animation has just learned from the Clone Wars and from Rebels, a lot of stuff about storytelling and things like. I mean, the animation is different, obviously, but I feel like this is also. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this, but just part of the general trend towards more episodic television in this way, like where you have like a bigger arc. But I thought it's been really, really well done. Also, I'm kind of like you. I was expecting the story that we're getting, literally the story we're getting now, to be season 2's story. But I think it's been really good. I think the characters have been really good. I feel like they have been available to different audiences without being all Sky Guy about things. Kaz is an infinitely more interesting character to me than Ezra ever was.
And that's saying a lot, because Kaz, as of right now, does not have Force powers.
Yeah. I mean, nor has he almost, gone to the Sith via a holocron. But...
Right, yeah. And that was so intense. Well, that's another thing with Kaz, too, is that I think it had a lot of people worrying that he was kind of bumbling and whatnot in the beginning. And I thought that, too, but I didn't think it was bad. Right. But he's gotten over that really quick, and it feels like the quote-unquote incompetence he had at the beginning of the series was less actual incompetence and more excitement. Like, he was just so freaking excited to be, working with Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
And then he's kind of calmed down and realized that there's real stakes to what he's doing.
Well, and I feel like Kaz is a character who's good at the things he's good at and not at other things. You know, because, as a Resistance, because this came up... I forget which episode it was in. It wasn't the most recent one, where he was talking to somebody. He's like, "Oh no, this was a ship that was used in the Clone Wars," and he knew all these technical specs of this ship, and they were like, "Wait, how do you know that?" And he was like, "It's totally not because I worked for the government and was a pilot."
Right. I would have studied military history because I'm in the military. Yeah. That's not it.
But so he's really good at some stuff, but then other things he's not at all, because that's outside. He was never trained to be a spy. He was never trained to be a mechanic. So he is bumbling, but not for the things that it makes sense for him to be good at.
And I think that makes sense, because we got to remember, he's the first time we've kind of had the accessible kid character who, like I said, at least right now, isn't Force sensitive.
Yeah.
Ahsoka obviously she was a Jedi Padawan when we met her.
Right.
Ezra had, blossoming Force powers. I guess Kaz could technically pull a Corran horn, and we could find out down the line that he has Force powers, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think we're almost so used to these gateway kid characters.
Right.
Who have these powers that now we're getting a normal person, and it confuses us. Where, you know, if you're watching Clone Wars and Rex is really good at some things, but other things aren't his forte, and it wasn't weird because that's just what he does.
Right. I mean, I just think overall, like, the cast has been so good, and I feel like in a lot of these shows there was like a weak point, at least for me personally, like a character that I just wasn't as into, and I haven't felt that way about this. I feel like the cast is vibrant, they're different, they're interesting. To me, I do think it's interesting, at least from my perspective. I don't feel like we've seen as much of Yeager in these more recent episodes. And
I think you're right.
I don't know if that's meaningful or not, but like I'm really interested in like all of their stories, like whether it's you know, Niku or whoever. You know, Sonara's got a lot of focus in these last couple of episodes, but like I've been really plugged into everything going on in a way that doesn't just have to do with the fact that, you know, we know they're going to find Starkiller Base or whatever.
Right.
Like, it's been on its own merits, like just life on the Colossus.
Right. And I, you know, and you say that, I think Niku is another one where I mean, yes, we had the one episode that was very Niku centric, but, you know, the other two episodes since they've come back, he was like there for a scene.
Right.
And then kind of left. And even like the signal from Sector 6 or whatever it was called, the one with Poe and Kaz at the end of last year, kind of similar. And so I think what they're really doing is they're utilizing, like, yeah, we have all these characters, but then they're like putting the characters at the forefront who need to be at the forefront when they're there.
Right.
Which is a little bit different than, say, Rebels, where there were character-centric episodes of Rebels, but they were that team. And, like, they went and did missions every episode. And here you're kind of saying... But I like this because we're seeing... You know, I liked the Bebo episode because I liked seeing Tam and Niku together. And see their friendship form and see Tam find the children from Tahar and learn about them and that sort of thing. I think that's really cool. I think the one team up we haven't seen is Niku and Sonara, which would probably be pretty great. If I'm being honest.
I mean, Niku with anybody is great.
Right. I really want to see like Niku and Yeager just like hang out for a day. See how that would go.
I don't know. I've not thought about this before, but I wonder if Niku will feel like betrayed when he eventually finds out that Kaz has been a spy. Yeah. Because he takes everything. I mean, his character is the character that takes everything at face value.
Right.
And like he was so upset about Kaz saying he was the best pilot and wasn't.
Right.
I don't know. That's not something I've thought about.
Yeah, I wonder. I could see him either being really hurt. Because, like, in theory, he still hasn't figured it out. Because he's talking to Kaz in the trailer, and we hear him say, like, Kaz, you're so interested in the First Order. You must be so happy. There's so many First Order guys around.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I could almost see Niku, like, figuring it out and being like, oh, Kaz is a resistance spy. And, like, just telling everyone. I feel like it's going to go one of those two ways.
What was the line from one of those earlier episodes where he like walks up to the stormtroopers and like, my friend has been looking for you?
Yeah, he's like, my friend is trying to get your attention.
Makes me think of like Drax from the first Guardians movie, especially.
Mm-hmm. Like, nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are so quick, I will catch it.
But how do you feel now about the animation? That's not a thing we've really talked about as much lately.
So I would say, I mean, the style is still not my favorite style. That's just an aesthetics thing.
Yeah.
But I like it now. I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
I think it was just like getting used to 2 3D animated shows, going to a 2D animated show.
Yeah.
It was just a little bit of a jump. But that said, regardless of whether or not it's my preferred style of animation, the animation itself is very well done.
Right.
I have no complaints about how it's actually executed. And a lot of the stuff, and I'm sure and with the old 2D Clone Wars micro series, I remember everyone really liked the animation in that. And I remember not liking it that much.
Yeah.
And then and everyone would go on about how much they loved it because it was a hand-drawn series and like nothing's hand-drawn anymore.
Right.
And then we got to some space battles, and I remember telling people, I really like the animation in the space battles. That's really good. And they're like, that's like the one part that's not hand-drawn. I'm like, oh, maybe, whoops. But I feel like the stuff in Resistance I like the most is probably, I don't think any of it's hand-drawn, but I think it's the more computery stuff, like the spaceships. Those darn spaceships, like all of their animation looks really good. The water animation always looks incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like the style they're using, the cell shaded or whatever it's called, is really, really good when it's something that has a lot of detail. So like if you look at the kids of the Tahar, like their hair looks so cool, or Niku's pet sea monster and the big sea monster, like they looked really cool. But then you have these other characters that are literally like face hair, and it's like it just looks a little bit different. So I feel like as they kind of start adding more texture to characters, it utilizes the style of animation better.
Right. That's basically how I felt too. I was a little skeptical, but honestly, it's not a thing I notice anymore, which I guess is a sign that it's good. Because that's always what I've heard about editing, that when editing is good, you don't notice the editing.
Right, exactly.
But another thing we wanted to do today is not just talk about kind of what the show has been so far, but go through and talk about what we think will come from the show. And one way that we wanted to do that was by going through the trailer that we got, the mid-season trailer.
Yes.
That you reacted to, that we talked about already.
I'll try not to cry and have a complete meltdown this time.
Yeah, we don't want you to be a fake fangirl too much.
So actually, some of you might not know, I got a comment on that video that I've since removed, just because I wanted to avoid confrontation starting on the page. But it was just like, look at this fake fangirl or something. I don't even know. I screenshotted it though, and I turned it into this really fancy thing that I'll keep forever. But it's taken 2 years of a YouTube channel for somebody to call me a fake fan, and I think that's the part that hurts the most. It took 2 years to be called a fake fan. Actually, I'm not sure if I was a fake fan or a fake girl. It was a little bit unclear in the syntax of the sentence, but either way.
Well, I don't want you to have to prove either of those things to the internet. So, but what we wanted to do is just like we did with the holiday special. We thought we could watch it together here, and then maybe pause it and comment on some things.
Yeah, because obviously some of this stuff will have already happened in the 3 episodes that aired.
Right.
But we can kind of go from there.
But let's just give it a play.
Let's see. So I think this shot will be like one of the opening shots for this upcoming week.
That is the 4th TIE fighter to
arrive
this week. You have such a tremendous interest in the First Order. Now that they are increasing their security presence on the Colossus, you must be thrilled.
Yeah, and this is something that we know is happening as soon as the next episode. Because like the episode's called The First Order Occupation.
Yep.
So well, you got somebody in the chat who supports your fan credentials, Jordan.
Hey, and we got Bear. Welcome, Bear.
Yeah, Bear with the bear emoji.
And thank you, Jordan, and welcome, Sarge. Hello.
Everybody's showing up right as we're doing the fun stuff.
Right. The notification must have finally gone out. But thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that.
Yes, Sarge. I thought that would make a funny thumbnail, but yeah, this week's episode is the First Order Occupation, so I'm imagining that we're going to start seeing a lot of this.
Yeah, and I like this. Do you think this is the same evil BB unit that was in TLJ?
I at least think that's what they're trying to imply.
Yeah. I would love that there is like some sort of background there, because like if you in The Last Jedi, they put that trash can on top of BB-8, which is the dorkiest, cheesiest thing ever, and I love it. And it's like, how is no one noticing that it's an upside down trash bin, like just rolling across the supremacy? I don't know, but go with it. It's fine. but I love that the little droid knows. And so if there can be like a backstory between what is it? It's like it's not a BB-8 unit, right? It's like B9E something.
Yeah, something like that.
I should know. I am a fake fan. I don't remember.
Is it BB9E? Is that what it is?
That sounds right. There's a 9 and an E involved. I don't remember if there's two B's.
It's E for evil.
Yeah, right. And I would love the idea that they have this backstory, like they've met before.
Yeah.
And it's like it's you like kind of thing on the Supremacy.
I didn't even think about that.
It would be so good.
Now, when I think about that, I just think about those of you on the stream don't know this, but I just finished Yoda Dark Rendezvous not too long ago.
Oh, good.
And there's scenes in the book where Yoda is hiding inside an empty R2 shell, and that's what BB-8 disguised as a trash can makes me think of now.
Right. If you haven't read Dark Rendezvous, it's a Legends novel, and it's like never on anyone's must-read list, but it's on my must-read list.
It's really good. It's really good.
And not just because Yoda's in the title.
No. It's a really good Count Dooku book, too, by the way.
It is a good Count Dooku book. Hey, Nolan, welcome! We're going through the Resistance trailer.
But
let's see what we got.
Yeah, let's keep going a little bit.
These guys aren't security. They're stormtroopers.
The
Stormtroopers are only for one.
This is a good trailer, I'm not gonna lie. There's those spaceships!
What is this? More spaceships?
More spaceships.
No star.
Okay, so this will be from the core of the problem, or the core. Right. It was a pun. There's a very punny title of an upcoming episode that involves the core.
Yeah. So this is something I wanted to talk about and speculate on for a minute. And you and I have talked about this a little bit, because my kind of headcanon explanation has always been that Starkiller Base was built as a one-shot deal.
Right, me too.
Like it was built to destroy Hosnian Prime, and that's why like it literally consumes the sun when they're trying to destroy what's the planet that the Resistance base is on? Dakar?
Dakar.
Dakar, yeah.
Yep.
James Lucino would be proud. But that's like why it's literally consuming the star. You know,
it is a star killer.
So is what we see, and we may find out in that episode, but is this like a test fire, or do you think this was a prototype that leads to
both.
or both, yeah.
I had a theory that I have already dispelled myself. There's one shot in the trailer we haven't got to where I thought I saw like a weapon mechanism, but it was actually like a giant droid that baby droids came out of. So it was not at all what I thought it was. I was having an emotional breakdown the first time I watched the trailer. It was not good for analysis. But I wondered that too, because I've always felt like Starkiller Base was a one-shot thing, and that's where when people back in the old days when people were hating on The Force Awakens instead of hating on The Last Jedi, that was one of the complaints, is that the Starkiller Base didn't make any sense, and to me it made sense if you were literally turning the planet into the gun, like you said. So what I wonder, like you said, is it a test shot? Are they going to stumble on these planets that have been wiped out and no one knows why? And it was actually one of the shots from the Starkiller, which it could be, because we don't know how many, like, in theory, the weapon in Force Awakens had 2 shots with however much was left from the sun, but maybe it had already consumed some of the sun.
Part of it, yeah.
Or did they build a smaller Starkiller base? Or I guess it wouldn't have been called, but did they build like a mini base to test the weapon? I mean, it makes sense that they need to do something.
Right.
There's been a lot of speculation that I can't at all take credit for. I first saw it. Star Wars Explained, who's like the channel we all wish we could be, did a great video where he's wondering if it's not. There's some ruins that Kaz and Poe go to, whether or not it appears that they're at the same place wherever this core is. And they could be Jedi ruins. Right. And so people think it's either a Jedi planet or it might be where Luke's temple was.
Oh, okay.
If it's where Luke's temple was, that's insane. would put that kind of information out before 9, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't expect to see anything like that before the release of episode 9. So I would be really happy. But I think it's highly probable that it could be some kind of Jedi thing, and that's why it was a target.
Right, that makes sense. Also makes me think of Jedha from Rogue One.
Right, yeah.
Being the target of the Death Star test fire.
That's for sure, yeah.
But no, I don't know. There's so many questions here. And this was the moment when I was watching the trailer that I was like, wow, this is
about to get good.
Giving us a lot we would get to.
One other quick thing. I haven't read the Poe... Well, I've read the first of the Poe comics. I haven't kept up with the trades. Just out of time, not out of dislike. But somebody has posted, there was a screenshot of one of the panels where, like, Poe talks about how he had to go do a thing to pick up BB-8. Hey, Poetic, welcome.
Hey.
And I think... I've said this in at least one of my reviews, I think we're about to lose BB-8 on the show.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure.
And so, because obviously he can't be there. So I'm wondering if Kaz gets to keep CB-23 or what.
Yeah.
But we see them kind of flying together. And I'm assuming that is the mission where Poe takes BB-8 back.
Yeah. Speaking of which, do we know where in space the Colossus is? Like, in relation to other places?
We know the name of the planet, and it's in the trailer, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but we're going to hear it in a minute when we get to that part of the trailer. We might. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
We might not actually know of... I don't know. I know there's already a new Galactic Atlas, which funnily enough, the new Galactic Atlas is written up by the Graff family, which was a nice shout out to Adventures in Wild Space. But I haven't bought the new Atlas. I still have the Legends Atlas. Sorry. Yes, Poetic. We as much as I trust Sergeant Curry Pants with my life, she is a mod mostly, so she doesn't get timed out anymore.
And because then she can say words that she wouldn't be able to say otherwise.
It's true.
If Yagi was here, he could complain about showing favoritism, but...
I mean, I think we modded him for the same reason, so it's okay.
Sarge is basically the third silent partner of the Port Haven Streamcast.
Well, she's on my wall.
Yeah.
The Mona Nikita.
Right up there with the Cheez-It box. Just staples of the Streamcast.
They had to stay within the recording space.
But let's go a little bit further.
Yeah. That's right, the actual topic of the stream.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the pirate ship we just saw. We just saw this part last week.
Yeah.
You need troops to protect your station, not racers.
First Order will provide all aerial...
This part we haven't seen.
Yeah.
I'm presuming is this upcoming week.
I think so too.
We need a plan.
Map!
They could be preparing for war.
The Tahar kids. Okay, pause it here so I don't lose it. Okay, let's talk about it, because then we're going to get to this part and I'm going to freak out. I legitimately still get shivers down my spine when I hear Hux's voice.
But I'm anticipating that most of this, maybe not the part with Poe, but I think most of what we see here is going to happen, or what we've seen so far is going to happen in the next episode.
Yes. I think the Aces getting grounded will largely be because of that. Because, I mean, the First Order wants to get rid of them because their ships have weapons. They're the only ones that would be a part of, stopping them in any capacity. If there was going to be any kind of resistance on the station, it would be that.
Which, by the way, I totally called the First Order selling out the pirates. In that episode too.
I don't know that I necessarily saw it coming, but I was not surprised at all. Like, as soon as they were coming up to the ship, I'm like, oh, that's what they're going to do. Yeah. But I knew they were going to do something, because the way Pyre and Phasma were like, Like, I mean, you couldn't see their eyes because they both had helmets on, but they were like, Hey, Ada, chat, welcome. Don't type while you're driving. Especially not while you're driving a loo. I have a Twitter poll about that right now, guys.
Yeah, I would never chat on a YouTube video while I was driving.
We don't endorse typing and driving.
But another thing, while traffic, it makes sense. While you're mentioning Pyre, this is just a random thought that I've seen floated around.
We never have those on stream.
That if Phasma is actually dead, which I personally don't buy,
I don't buy it all.
that we might see Pyre in episode 9 kind of as an Imperial person in her stead. What do you think about that?
I think that would be... I mean, he'd be easy enough to have as an Easter egg or in the background, like have a dude in gold stormtrooper armor just chilling.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be difficult to do. But I would have no problem with it. I feel like it's a type of thing where you wouldn't have to worry about explaining it too much, because the general audience that hasn't watched Resistance would go, Phasma's dead. Here's a new colorful stormtrooper. And then anybody who's seen the show can just go, woo! I mean, you'd be able to spot like the Resistance fans in the audience, I feel like.
I mean, personally, I'm expecting that Pyre and then Red Baron Von Trapp are both gonna eat it when Starkiller Base gets
He
destroyed.
is now Baron Von Trapp. I don't care.
I forgot his name there for a second. Lucina would not be proud.
I like how what Lucina would be proud of is how we just reference stuff in our streams all the time that no one else gets. It means absolutely nothing to anyone else.
This is not at all about an hour-long conversation we had privately earlier.
I mean, it was on our Discord too, sort of.
Yeah. But let's go for the money shot here in the trailer.
Right. Oh, okay. I'll try to keep it together.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so quick question. Does the actor get paid for this?
Right?
I
feel like
that's a legitimate question. Like, is he
That's
gonna
his
get
actual voice.
like you know stuff about SAG that I don't know, but like, does he get a credit for this?
Yeah, it's if I had to guess, it's probably based on his contract.
Yeah.
So like Carrie Fisher used to joke that George Lucas owned her likeness, and she was like on a Pez dispenser that her daughter would use to like pull candy out of her neck whenever she was mad at her and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like Carrie Fisher wouldn't necessarily get paid more for that each time unless that was the deal. Funnily enough, if I remember correctly, it was Sir Alec Guinness who opted to get a share of profits as opposed to like a flat fee.
Yeah.
And he was just making so much bank the rest of his life that he could act in whatever movie he wanted and he didn't care anymore. So like it depends on because like SAG has certain rules that you have to do, like only work this number of hours, only do whatever. Now that said, the movie's shot in the UK, so it's might not even be SAG, but they would have a union there, their
Right.
equivalent. But yeah, I would say it depends. Like if you sign away your use in this film and Lucasfilm can use it forever,
Yeah.
he probably doesn't. That said, if they put more of Hux in the show, they should Dom Hell just deserves more love in general.
I mean,
to
because
be honest.
like Oscar Isaacs voices Poe in this, doesn't he? And
Yeah.
and like Gwendolyn Christie.
And Christie is Phasma. And there's rumors that are unconfirmed of another sequel trilogy alum who will be voicing Rule, but
And
they're just
Academy
rumors.
Award nominee.
If that happens, I will actually cry. So, I should probably just record my face anytime I watch these episodes in the event he just shows up, because I
Just
can be
in
like,
case.
just in case.
It's like, I know you don't watch Game of Thrones, but like
Right.
all the red wedding
Red Wedding.
videos
Yeah.
that people did. Yeah. That's just when she sees unnamed person.
Unnamed Academy Award nominee who might voice in the show.
Yeah.
There you go. And Brett got to say, welcome. We're just going through the Resistance trailer and going over. We're at the Hux speech.
Yep.
And I'm trying not to cry. How are you today?
So,
And Blue Jogan, welcome. So many people.
yeah, and YouTube must have messed us over with the notifications.
Yeah, I've
today.
been seeing that from everybody. Like, the notifications are all sorts of messed up.
But
That's all right.
Let's go a little bit further into the trailer because I have another question ready to go.
All right. I'm worried. He's so not angry in that animation.
Here's my question. Pause.
Okay.
Stop. This is being broadcast. Like, is it being broadcast to the First Order troops on the Colossus, or is it being broadcast like on the HoloNet to the galaxy?
I imagine it's the exact same system from the Star Wars Holiday Special, where it brings in like life on Tatooine. There is now a curfew.
Live from Kazook.
But anyway, I don't know. That's a great question. What I notice immediately is like everyone's favorite space Nazi in The Force Awakens. He's like about to pop a vessel in his face, right? He's like, the last day of the... And like the animation, he's like, it's the last day of the Republic. But I'm wondering if maybe they're just using like footage from like not the same part that matches the voice. You know what I mean? So they might get the angry face in there, but I think it's a missed opportunity to not animate that face.
It means something different to me if it's going out to the First Order troops versus if it's like a speech to the entire galaxy, because then it involves the galaxy and like galactic politics in a different type of way.
Right.
Even like just the notion that in The Force Awakens, everybody there in the Senate is just kind of looking out at the stars versus, hey, we just got told we're going to die. Let's go out. Like, I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't know which one I would prefer, but it was a question I had when I watched this too.
I mean, I would assume it's First Order troops unless they hacked the HoloNet. Like, would the First Order even have access to... I mean, what is the HoloNet, I guess? Like, is it something that's born out of the Republic? Also, hello, Claybrick. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for dropping by. But that's my thing. So, like, if you think about the internet, here, countries have such control over...
Right.
Well, in theory, they have control over what is and isn't put on their internet. And if it's that equivalent, would the New Republic block the First Order? Would it have the ability to block the First Order? If it's this big important message, maybe the First Order would break through the equivalent of a firewall to get that message out. Or would they even... I mean, part of me would be like, do they even want to warn that the shot's coming, but can you even do anything about it? I don't know. And I guess the real question is, too, how long does it take for the shots, or like how long does it take for the fire to get to Hosnian?
I mean, the way it's presented in The Force Awakens, it's almost
instant.
Yeah.
So like in that case, Lobot's a little confused.
Oh. I mean, we can if you want, Lobot.
We can. If that's what you want, Lobot. He's not ready to be done talking about this book. No, I feel like I read somewhere that it was like a hyperspace thing or something.
Yeah, I think that's how they've explained it.
But anyway. But yeah, I just think that's something in general. Do you think Captain Doza is going to die at the end of the season? And do you think Kaz's dad is on Hosnian Prime when it blew up? If I can get at the second question first, my theory is that Kaz's dad is super totes evil. And is one of the senators in league with the First Order. So he probably, if he would be on Hosnian Prime, he would be being sacrificed by the First Order because they don't care. But I think it's convenient that we didn't see Kaz's dad's face in the pilot. And they played it off as they just couldn't get a good signal out. But like that just felt like really convenient writing to me. And I think it was supposed to be ominous. So I think Kaz's dad's bad. So I don't think he'll be on Hosnian Prime when it blows up.
Yeah, that's been my assumption all along, that Kaz's dad was a First Order sympathizer.
What are your thoughts on the first question there? Do you think Captain Doza is going to die at the end of the season?
I think someone will. I don't know that it will be. I mean, the obvious ones for me are Doza or Yeager.
For me, I think Sonara is an option also.
Yeah.
I don't want it, but I think it's an option.
I mean, that does open up the door to mention that before the stream today we were talking, because there is an episode coming up called The Disappeared, where somebody disappears, as the title suggests. And we were both in agreement that if they kill off Niku, we're done. Yeah, so
there's not many things that will make me just straight rage quit, boycott a thing that's Star Wars, but killing Niku is one of them.
Yeah, I mean that.
Plot twist: Hux is Kaz's dad. That would be quite a twist. I would not see that coming.
I mean, I feel like the hair would, but maybe I'm assuming too much about the Weasleys for that to matter.
Space genetics works differently.
Yeah, sure. Because magic wizard genetics is a completely different thing. All right, let's go a little bit further.
Yep.
Which I do like these shots that we've been getting of Starkiller base,
Oh yeah,
by the way.
the ships. Yeah, everything. All of this kind of stuff has looked fantastic.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying earlier about how anything that's like detailed comes off really well in this animation. Like just the area around the weapon on Starkiller looks fantastic. Actually, while you have a pause here real quick, I know you wanted to keep going. There's a theory out there that I hope isn't true, that the Starkiller base is built on the planet of Ilum. Have you heard that theory?
I have, yeah.
And I will protest every day if like this is what happened to Ilum. Ilum, I just recently reread the Ahsoka novel, and Ilum is in the Ahsoka novel. She briefly goes to Ilum for like 5 minutes because she thinks she's going to get lightsaber crystals from there.
Yeah.
And the whole planet is like wrecked because they've gone there to harvest lightsaber crystals or kyber crystals, obviously because they're making the Death Star. She doesn't know that yet. So part of me is like, well, the planet's already wrecked, so maybe they would do that. But then the other part of me is like, well, the crystals aren't there, so why would you go to Ilum?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it's not Ilum, but it does look like Ilum with a gun in it if you look at it from there.
I mean, I feel like Luke would know about Ilum, and I feel like there's that's people would be keeping tabs on Ilum in a way that they could not have been on whatever planet.
That's true.
And
welcome, David. I have watched the preview for next week's episode.
Yep.
I'm excited for it.
Another thing I want to point out, just while I've got this pause, and let me switch scenes here so you can see it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Is that clouds over the middle part? Like, does the atmosphere extend over the middle part?
That's funny.
Such that
it's like
storms go across?
That's funny. I didn't notice that, but that's cool.
I would not have noticed that if it weren't for the random place I paused this. But
yeah, that's trippy. I like that. I mean, in theory, there's atmosphere there, yeah, so that would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's one planet. Just because you dig down in the middle of it doesn't make it vacuum, I guess.
Right. But the gravity would still be there. That's fascinating.
But no,
that's a really neat detail.
I want to watch The Force Awakens now and see if I see
if you can see it in the movie.
Cloud cover over the planet.
Yeah.
But let's hit play.
Yeah, let's see what we got. So that's the sea monster. I think the sea monster is going to come back. I don't know what that big beam was that goes up in that Niku's by.
Blast some bucket heads.
The first time I watched that, I did not hear the word bucket heads. Just want to pause that and throw that out there. But no, that big beam thing, I'm assuming it has something to do with the way the station is suspended.
That could be.
But I
thought maybe like somehow Niku went somewhere and found like a prototype.
Maybe so.
For something. But no, that makes more sense. Is like the suspension base for that makes a lot more sense.
Scrub it back a little bit to see if I can get that. But anyway.
Yeah. So here it looks like the Aces, Castellan, that's the name of the planet I was trying to think of.
Yes.
There it looks like the Aces are fighting Ties. So it looks like we do get like actual rebellion on the station.
Yeah.
And then here she's saying, if you can leave Castellan, come join us. Do you think this is because Leia there is dressed like she's dressed in The Force Awakens?
Mm-hmm.
Now, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, in my opinion, are days apart at the longest. Some people think it's weeks because we don't understand how hyperspace works, but I think it's days at most.
I think so too.
And so to me, this is happening around the time of The Force Awakens, but it feels like the call that goes out when they're on Crate. But she's not dressed like that on Crate. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
I feel like it might be during The Force Awakens when the First Order goes to Takadana.
Okay.
I feel like she may be trying to recruit people to go there because, you know, there's that scene where Poe and the other X-Wings come in and kind of save the day on Takadana. That was my assumption.
That would make sense. And presumably she's reaching out to him because of Poe, right? It's the only reason I can think. Because, like, as cool as Kaz is, like, there's no reason why Leia should really care.
No.
Unless she's trying to get anybody she can, or she needs pilots, and she needs Kaz.
I also really, really, really want this haircut to be the Kaz equivalent of, like, Clark Kent's glasses.
Right. It's like you can't tell.
He'll swoop some bangs and now I'm a different person.
I liked how when the trailer came out, there was like this whole like contingent of the internet that freaked out over Kaz's new hair, and then there were like 3 people who were like, "I think his hair is just wet, guys. I don't think it's a new haircut."
Yeah.
I'm like, now that you mention it, that's probably true. But Brick Odyssey, I have thoughts on that, and I will get to that when we get to that part of the trailer. Yeah. I will agree with Nolan. As much as I like the Sea Monster, I like the Space Octopus better. Yeah. And I do appreciate them being called Bucketheads.
I still like the Space Whales from
Rebels.
But let's go a little bit further.
Yep.
Castellan, join us.
So that's the planet that Star Wars Explained talks about. Tam gets captured, which sucks.
A way of making people disappear.
It's probably from the Disappeared episode. We've seen that. The crashing ship.
Now. And we're taking back the Colossus.
Kids from Tahar.
Yeah.
Okay, so where we're gonna get here in a second too is you see the Colossus sink. I think the Colossus is built to sink. I don't think the Colossus gets destroyed. I think it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah, I've always assumed, and this is just, we don't really have anything to base this on. I've assumed that the Colossus was completely mobile, like was the kind of thing that could be on a different planet if they wanted to move it. So yeah, I don't think the Colossus is destroyed when we see it.
Sink here in a minute. The other line that Kaz just said there, the "We are the Resistance now," is the other thing that's kind of making me wonder, even though Leia is dressed like she's dressed in Force Awakens, is that it makes me feel like, they think the Resistance is gone. Yeah. And so now they have to be the Resistance because there isn't anybody else. But maybe that's just because he's asking for the Resistance for help, and they can't because they have to focus on Starkiller.
Maybe so. And I think it's a recruitment speech to the pirates, too.
Yes. I could see that as well. But to get to Brick Odyssey's question, I think what that'll depend on is I've long wondered why the First Order wants to be on the Colossus and why they care about Castellan. Because as near as I can tell, there's no real reason to, unless it's about the location. Yeah. And I don't know if the location is access to hyperspace, or if it's about maybe there's something on that planet that they want. So to that point, if there's something on that planet that they want, I could see them staying there. Because that it might become part of the story. If not, I think it could be a lot like Rebels, where they left Lothal for like season 3, and then came back to Lothal.
Right.
And I think that's distinctly possible too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be destroyed. I don't know, like what they might do to, like change the setting. and a lot of that will depend on how far we get in advance of episode 9, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that season 2, like, I don't know if we have a date yet, but I'm assuming that season 2 is going to come out before
Yeah,
episode
it's
9.
fall. That's all we
Right.
know.
Right. And so, like, either a lot's going to happen, like the timing of this is going to tell us something, you know? And I can't see them telling us more in Resistance, as much as I like Resistance, than what we'll see in the film, you know?
Right.
But I don't know. The timing of it, whether it's days or weeks between 7 and 8, either way, I don't see this doing a lot of that. And if they leave the Colossus, I don't know where they would go that would not be an episode 9 spoiler.
Right.
Because either it will tell us this is what was going on when the rest of the Resistance did not come in The Last Jedi. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's too dicey. It's too dicey.
I feel like it depends on how much of this time jump between 8 and 9 is real.
Yeah.
So, it was John Boyega was quoted as saying there's a year apart, but then John Boyega said that he didn't remember doing the interview that he was quoted from, but he also didn't deny that it was a year later. He just said that he didn't necessarily remember that interview. So assuming that it is a year, you know, I think there's some room where, like, let's say that the end season finale is the Hux speech stuff. I don't know that for a fact, but it could be. The upcoming batches that we have, episodes 4, we see Poe and Kaz seeing, like, more and more clues about Starkiller, but we don't know where the attack on Hosnian is coming from. But it doesn't look like the attack on Hosnian is coming in any of the other episodes. Maybe the Disappeared, maybe, but I don't think so. And so say that's where it ends. So season 1 ends with TFA. Then you can have season 2, the 8 or so, 10 or so episodes that would air before we get to episode 9, could be resolution from TFA and what's going on during TLJ. And then you could do a couple of episodes that were post The Last Jedi that were just like, we're rebuilding the Resistance.
Right.
And, you know, Leia's there recruiting people, and that sort of thing. So I think it's possible if they kept it to a minimum, especially because of how far removed they are.
Yeah.
But I don't think we would see a whole lot.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of how I feel, is that it's possible. It just depends on what they show us, and I don't think it's likely that they will show us much. And so I would almost rather I would rather these characters be involved in something that matters than something that doesn't. And so, like, I would rather them not give us a whole lot after The Last Jedi, because I feel like to the extent that we get anything after The Last Jedi, it's going to be stuff that doesn't matter a whole lot.
No, and that makes sense. Makes total sense.
But that's just a personal preference, not really anything based on evidence.
I know we're trying to get through this, but Brick Odyssey says, in season 2, do you think there are going to be returning characters from other content? Maybe. I think Hondo is a distinct possibility.
Yeah.
What with Hondo being so popular in the other animated shows, he's had a book that just came out. He's at Galaxy's Edge, so we know he's alive at this point in time. I think he's distinctly possible. I don't think they're going to pull in Ezra and Sabine and Ahsoka into this, largely that's just because that whole story is Dave Filoni's baby, and Dave Filoni is involved with the show right now, sort of, but really he's focused on the upcoming season of the Clone Wars, and he's directing the first episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And I think, if anything, we're more likely to see something oddly enough, I think we're more likely to see some kind of weird shout out in the first episode of The Mandalorian than we are in Resistance, just because of Filoni's involvement.
I could see a Hera cameo or a Jason Syndulla appearance.
Right.
Or even
for sure.
or
For
even
sure. I could
maybe
definitely
like
see Hera. Yeah.
like maybe some of the Aftermath characters.
Oh, I'd love. Well, they'd be older, but I'd be so okay with that.
Right. But
Oh
like
my gosh.
I don't think we'll get any of them becoming main cast characters.
No.
If that's the question.
And then Blue Jogan, I'm not familiar with that, but I honestly try to stay away from any kind of negative drama online.
Ditto.
All right, let's try to blow through the rest of this. We have a lot.
Hit it, Cal!
Okay, so there's the Colossus sinking, which we talked about it.
Hey, frowny faces.
Fighties.
Kaz,
Spidey, so
I'm
many.
alongside you any day.
There's Yeager back, Niku back. There they are underwater, which is where I think the sea monster will come involved with. I don't think we've seen Yeager flying in a ship like that yet.
I don't think so either.
Okay, so there we go. The last bit is all like, click on these other videos.
Yeah. But no, I'm so excited. Like,
Me too.
if nothing else, I'm just super pumped. Like it is, I'm surprised at how much sequel trilogy stuff they're showing us so far.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I'm more pumped for this than I thought I would be. And I think that says
same.
a lot about the quality.
Definitely. And I've been surprised at how much they're really willing to show. I mean, right down to like how much Phasma. Like when they announced that Poe and Phasma were going to be in it, I thought they were going to be in cameos of the first couple episodes and then we'd be done, not being woven through the whole story.
Right.
I was not expecting this like build up to what Starkiller Base is kind of stuff, and
Right.
that's a show I would have been way more interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of get the reason why not to market it that way, but that's why I'm glad I gave it a shot. Just because I wouldn't have expected it otherwise.
Yeah. And we got a question here. Do you think we'll see Red Baron Von Trapp's face under his helmet?
Yes. It's
I don't think so. I don't
what if it is Christopher Plummer?
I would genuinely be very surprised. I mean, who knows?
Sorry. I mean, to the extent that we haven't really seen Phasma's face, we've seen part of her eye.
Yeah, that was my reasoning why. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like they want to keep some of these guys literally faceless.
I mean, the first person we saw on film, I don't want to say this categorically, but a stormtrooper without his helmet was Finn, and I think that means a lot for that to be the first one of those that we see, and so I think it would kind of undercut that moment a little bit too to see.
Yeah, the only thing I could see is if we got like a major episode from his perspective, and we saw him having some downtime with his helmet off, but I don't think we would see it. Like just him taking it off before a dramatic fight or something like that.
I mean, unless he ends up being like Kaz's dad, which I don't
Right.
know. He's Ray's mom.
There you go. That's right. Confirmed.
Yeah. Are there any like really wild predictions you want to make before we wrap things up, so that if they happen, we seem really, really smart?
Right. I mean, my biggest one is just that I think Kaz's dad is a First Order sympathizer. Right now, it's looking like Kaz and Sonara are getting closer. As to what that means, we don't necessarily know. But I think it's interesting that we have an episode description about Sonara getting away, and a lot of what we saw of Sonara in that trailer is what we've already seen. So I'm a little bit worried about her.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, even though she's got a toy, so I figure like she must be considered some kind of major character, but we might not be seeing as much of her, unfortunately.
Right.
Other than that, no, I don't think there's any other big twist coming.
My big prediction is that they all get Rogue One, and season 2 was either a fake out or we'll have a completely different cast.
Whole new cast.
All new characters. Nobody will be the same.
Same voice actors, but they're just voicing
Oh yeah.
different people.
Yep, just completely. It'll be Kaz and Cam.
Tom.
Yep. And Tiku.
There you go. Perfect.
And Zeger.
Yep.
No, it'll be Yeager, except it'll be Jaeger.
Jaeger.
Just to make it
Which is what I pronounced his name as for like the first 3 reviews.
But I think that's mostly what we wanted to do today, was just kind of talk about the series, where it's come, how it's progressed, and what we think might happen
In the future.
In the future, yeah.
I think if Snoke makes an appearance, I'm assuming you mean Snoke, because there's already been Smoke in the show. Now, if Snoke's in it, I think it's going to be similar to Hux, where we're going to see something we've seen from the films, but from somebody's eavesdropping or something. I don't know that he's going to be in there. Oh, well, thanks for dropping by anyway, BB Nate. It's great to see you.
Yeah. But before all of you go, before we stop, I want to remind you that you can follow us on all of the places, on the Twitters and the Instagrams and the Facebooks and our blog site and our forums and our Discord. All important,
so many places.
Yeah, all important things that you can find linked in the places where you would expect to find links. And if you're not, we try to really engage, and we've had some good discussion going on our Discord lately, especially. So if you're not there, I would encourage you to check that out. If you have thoughts on what you'd like to see us do a discussion on our Streamcast, you can always leave those.
There's a place there for any kind of video feedback in general. Yeah,
we haven't really asked for topics in a while, but if you got something, unless you want us to go through the specs of a land speeder, that's not really our shtick. But otherwise,
we know people who could help you with that, though.
Yep. And because we're not developing our own fan film, so if you have content ideas or things you would like us to talk about, then feel free to let us know.
But yeah, thank you. Thanks to all the friends who dropped by. We had some faces I haven't seen in chat before, some regulars, Bear, Sarge, AT-AT, and Poetic are all fellow content people.
I did see that Poetic is streaming now. If we want,
is she?
To send people her way.
We should. Do you have the link, or do you want me to?
I can just put the link.
Okay, you have it. And we'll drop in. We can raid her. She's wonderful. She's playing a lot of cool things lately. She's a cool game streamer. Lots of energy, and sometimes does just talking. So we'll end the stream with visiting her.
Yeah, she's playing Kingdom Hearts right now.
Oh, nice. Fantastic.
Yeah, there's the link for that. Do we want to have a hashtag?
I mean, I feel like we always just bust in with some Raylo as canon.
Works.
What's my favorite? Yoda. That's probably really surprising. My favorite character is Yoda.
And Jango Fett, my favorite.
We're real secretive about it.
But yeah, just jump in Poetic's chat with some hashtag Raylo as canon.
Yeah.
And show her some love. Like our stream, like her stream. Just like everybody's stream,
Just go somewhere and like a thing.
Yep.
In Resistance. Sorry, Niku.
Oh yeah, Niku for sure. I mean, if Yoda or Django shows up, then maybe we'll change.
Then them. But right now, Niku.
Yeah. But I think that's gonna do it for us today.
Yup.
So we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.